Hello, welcome to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast, where it is all about helping amazing physicians just like you create a wealthy life free from burnout and with the financial security to practice medicine on your own terms. I'm your host, Dr. Elisa Chiang. Hello, and welcome back to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. This summer is turning out to be a hot one for many people, which means that AC units may be working extra hard. I have 2 AC units for my short-term rental, and during the June heat wave, despite both units working, the second floor of the cabin wouldn't sufficiently cool down, according to the guests staying there that weekend. I'll admit, some of it was probably my bad. I set the thermostat to a higher 78 degrees when there are no guests, then set it to cool to 72 degrees the morning guests arrive. At the time of the heat wave, I was in Europe, so I wasn't aware that it was in the 90s in the area of my cabin. Unfortunately, the cleaners had also left the curtains open, which allowed light to come in and heat up the cabin even more. And this got me thinking, how much do you save by keeping the thermostat higher in the summer or lower in the winter? When I grew up, we would keep the house around 68 degrees in the winter and 78 degrees in the summer. And this is generally what I still do in my own home. My husband and I do have space heaters in our office that we'll use in the winter if we get chilly as well. One thing I'll say is that both my husband and I are really environmentally conscious, so we try to limit our use of natural resources, and it's not really all about saving money. That being said, I do wonder how much money is saved. So I turned to the internet to find what information I could. According to smartenergy.com, in the summertime, for each degree the thermostat is set above 72 degrees, there's a savings of up to 3% on the utility bill from using less air conditioning. This means that if you set your thermostat to 78 degrees, 6 degrees higher than 72, you could save potentially 18% if these stats are correct. SmartEnergy.com also says that if you can tolerate warmer temperatures, then you can save an extra 6 to 8% on your electric bill for every degree the thermostat is raised above 78 degrees during the summer. It seems like there may be less savings for heating. Their website says that for heating, each degree you lower your thermostat can save 1 to 3%. Of course, I think this will depend on the efficiency of your air conditioning or your furnace. I'll go into more details on that later in the episode. I looked to corroborate these numbers given by smartenergy.com, and I came upon the U.S. Department of Energy website. The U.S. Department of Energy states on their website that you can save as much as 10% a year on heating and cooling by changing your thermostat 7 to 10 degrees from its normal setting for 8 hours a day. They didn't specify how much you would save per degree change. Of course, these savings will be less in milder climates, with more savings in more severe climates. The closer your indoor temperature to the outdoor temperature, the less your furnace or AC has to work. The lower the interior temperature is in the winter, the slower the heat loss. This also holds true in the summer. The higher the interior temperature, the less flow of heat there will be from the outdoors to the indoors. This all makes sense. The Department of Energy website talks about saving money on heating and cooling bills by changing the thermostat setting when you're asleep or away from home, as opposed to trying to tolerate a higher or lower temperature when you are home. If you have a regular schedule, using a programmable thermostat that adjusts according to your schedule can make this easy. You can always manually override the setting. That being said, from what I read, you want to be careful about doing this if you have a heat pump. Most of the information I read seemed to apply only to central heating and cooling. Programmable thermostats are generally not recommended for heat pumps. When in cooling mode, a heat pump acts like an air conditioner, so keeping the thermostat a few degrees higher will still save energy and money. When the heat pump is in heating mode, setting back the thermostat can cause the unit to operate inefficiently, so maintaining a moderate temperature setting is the most cost-effective practice. Other information that appeared again and again on different websites is the fact that setting the temperature for higher or lower than you actually want doesn't actually make your furnace or AC work harder to heat or cool down the temperature faster. The AC or furnace simply turns on and off. When the AC is on, it cools the air. And when the furnace is on, it heats the air. It's really a binary system. By setting the temperature higher or lower than you actually want, you're overshooting the temperature that you want, and that leads to excessively cooling or heating your home, which is kind of a waste of energy. So how do you know how efficient your AC is at cooling your home? An AC unit's energy efficiency ratio, the EER, is a measure of how efficiently it uses electricity to cool a building at any given moment. The EER of your AC unit is calculated by dividing its cooling output in British thermal units, BTUs, by the power it's using in watts. You'll find these numbers in the unit's manual or printed directly on the unit. The formula is EER equals unit BTUs divided by watts consumed. Another measure of efficiency is the seasonal energy efficiency ratio, the SEER rating. SEER ratings provide a broader picture of the unit's efficiency, taking into account its performance over the entire cooling season, as opposed to any specific moment in time. The SEER rating is calculated by dividing its total cooling output in BTUs over a season by its total energy consumption in watt hours over the same period. So the formula for SEER is SEER equal unit BTUs divided by watt hours consumed. When I looked at the model for my AC unit online, I actually found it specifically just said that my unit has 13 SEER and up to 11 EER based on tested combinations. Of course, I don't know what it actually is for my own home. When you're shopping for a furnace or air conditioning unit, you can look for if it's an Energy Star unit. Earning Energy Star means that the product meets strict energy efficiency guidelines that's set by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The next thing I looked up was how much does it actually cost to run AC? What I found was to calculate the cost per hour to run air conditioning, you multiply the wattage of the AC unit and multiply this by the cost of the electricity to run the unit. Central AC units can range from 1,500 watts for a small unit to 4,000 watts for a large unit, and typically uses 3,000 to 3,500 watts per hour. You can find the average cost of electricity by looking at your last electric bill. It will generally be some cost per kilowatt. When I looked at my recent electric bill, the cost per kilowatt was 0.66 or 6.6 cents per kilowatt, but that was only about half the charge in the bill. While that was a charge for the generation of electricity, there was also fees for distribution and recovery charges. So if I divide my entire bill by the amount of kilowatt that was used, it came out to about 15.5 cents per kilowatt. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the average cost of electricity in the United States for June 2024 is 17.8 cents per kilowatt. Figuring out the wattage of your AC unit is a little less straightforward. I tried doing this for my own unit and came up with a number that was out of that 1,000 to 4,000 range after trying to do some calculations. So I'm just going to use 3,000 watts per hour to kind of give an example of how I could calculate how much it costs to run the AC in my home. If it's 3,000 watts per hour and I'm paying 15.5 cents per kilowatt, then I need to divide the 1,000 because of the watts per kilowatt. So that ends up being 46.5 cents per hour. So really it's cost per hour equals the unit wattage times the average cost per kilowatt divided by 1,000. According to a Forbes article that I found, they used the rate of 15 cents per kilowatt and said that central AC for a small home generally costs 15 to 30 cents per hour to cool, a medium-sized home 30 to 45 cents per hour to cool, and large homes 45 to 60 cents per hour. Of course, the cost of electricity does vary across the country, so depending on the cost of electricity in your area, it may influence you whether or not it would be worthwhile to consider the temperature that you want to maintain your home. Of course, there are other things you can do to save on heating and cooling other than changing the settings on your thermostat. Using blackout curtains to block out sun from coming in during the day can help keep the house cooler. You can also use fans to help with air movement. Adding insulation both prevents heat from leaving a building in the winter and heat from coming in during the summer. Insulation creates a barrier that resists heat flow in walls, floors, roofs, and ceilings. One website claimed that insulating your attic can result in 20 to 60% of energy savings. I take that with a little bit grain of salt because that was from a website of someone who does insulation. Sealing any air leaks can also make a difference. Air leaks by windows and doors can be sealed with caulk and weather stripping. Depending on where you live, many people are turning to solar power to decrease their electricity bills. It's also possible that you could claim energy efficient home improvement credit under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. You can claim credit for improvements made up until 2032. The credit equals 30% of certified qualified expenses, which includes getting a home energy audit. The credit has no lifetime limit, so you can actually claim the maximum annual credit every year that you made eligible improvements up until 2033. To learn more about claiming those credits, you can go to the IRS website, www.irs.gov/credits-deductions/energy-efficient-home-improvement-credit. I'll have that link in the show notes. Well, I know this episode is a little different than many of my other episodes, but I hope you found it interesting. I learned a lot while I was researching this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please let me know by emailing me at growyourwealthymindset@gmail.com. Thanks for being a listener of the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could share it with your friends and colleagues. And now for the disclaimer. I am not a certified financial planner, accountant, or attorney, and nothing I say should be construed as professional investment, tax, or legal advice. This show is primarily for your education and entertainment. I am a physician, but I'm probably not your physician. So if you need any medical advice, please contact your own physician. Thank you.